Welcome. Today I'd like to begin with a story. I first saw this in a book by Stephen Covey. I'd like you to imagine for a moment that it's a beautiful day and you're driving down a country road. You enter a small town and you see a church by the side of the road. You park your car in a crowded parking lot. You go up the steps and you enter the church. Inside the church you see that it's standing room only. You're walking down the aisle looking for a place to sit. You can't help but wonder, why are all these people here? And then you notice that up at the front of the church there's a casket. It's a funeral. And you wonder, well, who died? As you continue walking down the aisle, looking for a place to sit, you realize that you know some of the people in the audience. You see your boss from work, and you see some of your co-workers. You notice your cousins are there. Then you're surprised to learn that your brother, your sister, your mom and dad, they're all present. Well, as you reach the front of the church, you go by the coffin. And out of curiosity, you look inside, and you're startled to find out you are in the coffin. It's your funeral. Well, let's say that you stand off to the side and you watch the proceedings. The minister comes up. He asks some people to say a word about what your life meant to them. And you watch as some of your co-workers come to the front. They give a little speech. You listen very carefully. Your boss then gets up to say a word. And one by one, your neighbors, your relatives, your own brother and sister, they all speak. Finally, your mom, your dad talk about you. What would you hope to hear people say about you? Stephen Covey says, the things that you want to hear them say about you are really the fundamental values that you hold to. If someday you want people to say those things, then every day you ought to live in such a way that you are not violating your deepest values. In brief, you ought to live with the end in mind. And according to the Bible, that's true. Christians are to live with the end in mind. We are to see life from the perspective of our final accountability before God. Another way of saying this would be to ask, when your life is over, what do you hope to hear Jesus say about you? And that's what I want to talk with you about today. What will Jesus say about you at His judgment seat? The Apostle Paul wrote of that moment when he said, we make it our goal to please Him, talking about Christ, whether we are at home in the body or away from it. That is, whether we are alive in the body or we have died and are away from it and with Christ. He says, for we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that each one may receive what is due him for the things done while in the body, whether good or bad. That's 2 Corinthians 5, 9, and 10. According to the Bible, the purpose of this judgment will be to evaluate our lives as Christians so that we can be properly rewarded for the way that we have faithfully or unfaithfully served Christ on earth. Does it matter? Yeah, it matters. There are tremendous rewards that the Christian can win or lose. Look at 1 Corinthians 3, 13 through 15, where we're told that Christ's judgment will be like a fire, which will test the quality of each man's work. If what he has built survives, he will receive his reward. If it is burned up, he will suffer loss. Notice, he will not lose heaven, but what he will lose is reward. Paul says in verse 10 that a Christian should be careful how he builds. Here he compares our daily Christian living to building a house. As we live for Christ, our deeds of service to Christ are likened to valuable materials, such as gold, silver, and costly stones. When we live selfishly and we commit sins, the Bible likens these deeds to shoddy materials, such as wood, hay, and straw. And the apostle says that someday our work, it's going to be shown for what it is, because the day will bring it to light.